Take a look at your dinner plate. Roughly half of the nitrogen atoms in the proteins keeping you alive right now do not come from natural soil. They come from a chemical reactor, powered by high pressure fossil fuels. If we turned off those reactors tomorrow, 4 billion people, half the human race, would literally starve within months. You've been told that modern food security is about seeds, rain, and tractors, but history hides a dirty secret. Before we figured out how to make food out of natural gas, empires fought bloody global naval wars over bird poop. Right now, as regional tensions flare across global maritime choke points, humanity is stepping right back into the exact same trap. Today, we're uncovering how bird droppings built modern geopolitics, how one controversial scientist saved the world while inventing chemical warfare, and why your next meal depends on the price of natural gas. In the 1840s, Western civilization hit a terrifying wall. The Industrial Revolution had triggered a massive population explosion across Europe and North America. Cities were growing, but agriculture was failing. Centurial farming had completely drained the soil of its most critical nutrient, reactive nitrogen. Crop yields collapsed, mass famine threatened Western Europe. The problem wasn't a lack of farmland, it was that the soil was literally exhausted. Then explorers made a discovery of the coast of Peru, the Chincha Islands. For thousands of years, millions of cormorants, pelicans, and boobies had nested on these rainless islands, leaving behind layers of droppings up to 150 feet deep. This was guano, concentrated organic nitrogen gold. When European farmers spread guano onto their depleted fields, crop yields skyrocketed overnight by up to 300%. Bird poop became so valuable that it drove international diplomacy insane. In 1856, the US Congress passed the Guano Islands Act, a law empowering American citizens to claim any uninhabited island on Earth for the United States if it was covered in bird droppings. 8 years later, Spain dispatched its ironclad warships to seize Peru's Chincha Islands, triggering the Chincha Islands War of 1864. Empires were literally sacrificing naval fleets and thousands of lives for avian excrement. Behind the massive profits of the guano era lay one of the most horrific labor crises of the 19th century. To dig through 150-foot cliffs of petrified bird waste, mining companies imported tens of thousands of indentured workers, primarily Chinese coolies. The work was toxic. Inhaling dense ammonia dust for 14 hours a day destroyed workers' lungs and blinded their eyes. The air was so saturated with ammonium salts that men had to wear sponges over their mouths just to survive a shift. Hundreds preferred jumping off the cliffs into the Pacific Ocean over enduring another day on the islands. By the 1880s, the Chincha Islands were scraped down to bare rock. The bird poop was gone. The world was once again on the brink of mass starvation. How did humanity escape the death trap of depleted guano islands? Through an invention that changed chemistry forever. In 1909, German chemist Fritz Haber achieved what seemed like alchemy. Earth's atmosphere is made of 78% nitrogen gas, N2, but it's bound by a triple covalent bond, one of the strongest chemical bonds in nature. Plants cannot absorb it directly. Haber, along with industrial engineer Carl Bosch, built a high pressure reactor that forced atmospheric nitrogen to combine with hydrogen gas at 200 atmospheres of pressure and 500 degrees Celsius. The result pure synthetic ammonia, NH3. Before Haber, Earth's population was strictly limited by how much organic manure or natural nitrates humans could dig out of the ground. Haber's invention unlocked infinite food. Today, synthetic ammonia production consumes 2% of all global energy and accounts for 1.3% of total world CO2 emissions. If the ammonia industry were a country, it would be the 16th largest polluter on Earth, emitting more carbon than Australia or South Africa. But here is the dark twist. that almost nobody talks about. When World War One broke out in 1914, the British Royal Navy blockaded Germany, cutting off all imports of Chilean saltpeter, the critical ingredient needed for gunpowder and artillery shells. Germany was scheduled to run out of ammunition within 6 months. Instead, Fritz Haber converted his fertilizer plants into munitions factories. His synthetic ammonia was converted into nitric acid to build TNT and nitroglycerin. Synthetic fertilizer literally prolonged World War One by 3 years. Haber didn't stop there. He went on to head Germany's chemical warfare division, developing chlorine and phosgene gas used in the trenches. The same man who won a Nobel Prize for feeding the world created the chemical weapons that poisoned thousands of soldiers. Historians estimate that reactive nitrogen created by the Haber Bosch process is directly linked to 100 to 150 million military and civilian deaths in 20th century conflicts. Fritz Haber freed us from bird poop, but he bound us to something else: fossil fuels. To make synthetic ammonia, you need hydrogen. And today, over 70% of global ammonia is produced using natural gas via steam methane reforming. In fact, natural gas accounts for 60% to 8% of the total cost of manufacturing nitrogen fertilizer. This creates a terrifying direct link between energy markets and your dinner table. When natural gas prices spike, or when maritime choke points like the Strait of Hormuz face naval blockades or drone attacks, the global food supply chain breaks instantly. The Strait of Hormuz handles roughly 20% of global liquid natural gas exports, and over 25% of all dry bulk fertilizer exports from the Persian Gulf pass through this single narrow waterway. When gas prices surged recently, European chemical plants couldn't afford to run. Fertilizer production collapsed across Europe, forcing farmers to slash their crop application rates. And our over reliance on synthetic nitrogen is triggering an environmental crisis. When farmers over apply synthetic fertilizer, excess nitrates wash into groundwater and rivers. In rural agricultural zones, high nitrate levels in drinking water cause methemoglobinemia, commonly known as blue baby syndrome. Nitrates convert into nitrites in the human body, binding to hemoglobin and blocking blood cells from carrying oxygen, causing infants to literally turn blue from oxygen deprivation. In our oceans, nitrogen runoff causes massive algal blooms. When these algae die and decompose, they consume all dissolved oxygen, creating hypoxic dead zones. The dead zone in the Gulf of Mexico covers 14,000 square kilometers, an area the size of Northern Ireland where no fish or marine life can survive. Now, let me ask you a question. Given that our global food supply is tightly bound to fossil gas pipelines and vulnerable shipping lanes, do you think governments should treat fertilizer plants as vital national security assets, just like defense infrastructure? Drop your perspective in the comments below. From the bird poop wars of the 19th century to the gas pipeline crises of today, human civilization has spent 200 years fighting for a single chemical element: nitrogen. We broke nature's bottleneck by digging up bird droppings and then by burning fossil fuels. But the third nitrogen revolution is happening right now: green ammonia. By using renewable energy, solar, wind, and nuclear to run water electrolysis, scientists can split hydrogen from water without using a single cubic foot of natural gas. Facilities like concentrated solar towers in deserts are using extreme heat to synthesize green fertilizer directly from air and water. The countries that master green, decentralized ammonia production won't just solve climate change, they will gain ultimate strategic autonomy. They will own an unbreakable food supply that no naval blockade or gas embargo can ever touch. We just saw how a single chemical process tied global food security directly to natural gas. But what happens when a major military conflict breaks out in Europe? and the entire NATO defense grid runs out of fuel. Click the video on your screen right now to see how synthetic e fuels made from water, air, and electricity could become Europe's ultimate strategic asset when the fuel stops coming.